We might say patriarchy. Hey everyone, what's good? Thank you for joining me today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce my lovely guests. We have Aemy Blackfyre, Nessie, and AK. I'm going to let them each say hi in order, starting with Aemy.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Aemy. I have a YouTube channel that also links to my blog, and I'm obsessed with Western fantasy, and I look at it through an Eastern lens because I study Chinese literature.
Nessie.
Hi, my name's Nessie. I've got a YouTube channel as well called the Unspun Yarn, and all these lovely ladies have been my guests at one time or another. I talk about mythology and fiction and fantasy and how to unwind those tropes and really get at what the heart of the story is about.
And of course, my partner in crime always, AK.
I am nowhere near as polished as the two young ladies that spoke before me. So I'm just gonna say, hey, and let's get into tearing Zeus down about this hoeing that he doing out here because
Zeus is a
he
hoe.
needs to get it correct. Hera is way too petty for him to be doing all of these antics.
I like your community peen aspect there.
That's what it is.
He's
like I was saying just now.
Just giving it to everyone.
Every demigod story that we have on the books is because Zeus is the daddy.
And along came Zeus.
There was I saw that meme that was women just nothing, and then Zeus, hey, it's me, it's Zeus.
He's very cunning in that
nobody asked for you.
Yeah, that's not it.
No, but he's very cunning in that he always appears as somebody who's familiar, right? Yeah. That's how he be sliding into people's DMs.
Yeah. He just creeping around looking like everybody's husband and shit.
Yeah, he's basically a walking Me Too moment.
So, in case you don't know you haven't realized by the title, today we're going to be discussing the Netflix anime show called The Blood of Zeus, and it's a different. It has a different take on the Olympians, and it focuses on one of Zeus's offspring. And I'm not a I won't say that I'm very well versed in Greek mythology, that I know it inside out, but I know enough to know who the gods are and what they do and what role they play. I know the history of how the Olympians came to be. So, but Nessie, as I understand, is very well versed in Greek mythology. So I'm really glad to have her on the panel so that she can kind of give us a little bit more history and background. And I'm glad to have the other ladies to come and dive in and kind of get into this show. If you haven't seen it, spoilers, okay? I'm going to spoil. So
everything.
Okay, spoilers, we welcome you. If you haven't seen it and you don't want to be spoiled, I'm gonna have to say you may have to jump off. But if not, hang in for the ride. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go over the first 4 episodes. There's 8 episodes. They're not very long. They're like about 20 minutes or so. And so we're gonna discuss the first 4 episodes and do a little bit of a deep dive. Y'all know how I do. I like to get into human behavior. Well, they're not human, but I like to get into human-like behavior and why characters do what they do. And then we're going to have a little bit of silly fun because that's how we roll around here on this channel. And also encourage you all to participate in that, as I know you all will do. So getting into episode 1, a brief synopsis of episode 1 is there's a town, I can't remember the name of it, but it's not important for now. There's a town that's being we see these demon-like figures that are being chased, and of course they're being chased by some sort of a royal guard. And then they come across this town, which happens to be inhabited by our main protagonist, which is called Heron. And so once these demons are discovered, there is the general of the guard, who is named Alexia, Go Woman Power, who is obviously the leader of this platoon, and they're chasing these demons for a particular reason. And so once they get into the town, they're trying to find, they notify the people of the town that they're looking for these creatures, and they tell them to make sure that they take cover. And then we find Heron, who is obviously, he's a young man. His family is obviously not very well to do. He is digging for ores, and he gets scraps for it. We find him meeting up with his mother, and then all of a sudden, one of the demons, or I believe, comes and crosses into the town, and then the soldiers chase after them. And then after they get chased, the villagers try to hide. We come across an older man. His name is Elias, who is another central figure aside from Heron's mother in his life. He happens to be injured. They mend him, and then he goes to get some water, comes across one of those demons, and then here we get to see his ability to fight, right? Because he has the ability to fight, so we know that he has some skill, correct? And so after we get through that part of it, him, Elias, and his mother are having a conversation, and he's asking, why is it that their town are being overrun by these demons? And so Elias then goes into the history of the gods. And so if you're familiar with the history of the Olympians, which are Zeus, Hera, Poseidon, Hades, Apollo, Athena, and so on, you know that Zeus is actually the product of two titans, Rhea and Kronos. And so Kronos had received a prophecy that a son that he was going to bear would be his downfall. I think I'm over, but I'm sure Nessie will correct me. But there was a prophecy that a son that he was to have was going to overtake him and bring him down. And so what he did was, every time Rhea would have a child, he would swallow the child. And so when Rhea was pregnant with Zeus, what she did was she tricked Kronos. She had Zeus in secret, I guess in a cave. And then what she did was she took a rock and she wrapped it in swaddling and then gave it to Kronos for Kronos to swallow. It's really weird because Rhea and Kronos were like brother and sister, because the gods didn't have any other,
they were Targaryens. They were Targaryens.
And all the Olympians are also brother and sister, because
there's a whole lot of incest up in there.
You know what I mean? And so
pickings were slim.
Can I just interject also, though? People made up these stories. Did they not have a better angle than incest?
Well, I mean, Freud would say it's because they all secretly wanted to get with their siblings. So,
he was in love with his sister. So,
they say that ancient Greeks, the reason why they came up with the gods is because that was their way of being able to explain the things that they didn't understand. And so
I get that.
They came up with that, but also remember that, Greek society was a patriarchal society, right? So a lot of these things came
So they were
from
all trying to
a
bang
lot
their
of
moms.
the men, and so you'll see a lot of the themes of the virility of the gods, especially of Zeus and all that others, and how he spreads his love.
Garth
Spreads
Green
his
hand
love.
over there just
Red.
spreading his seed.
Yeah, pretty much. I think
He
Zeus is the only
spreads
person that
love,
had more kids than Garth Greenhand.
right? And so he goes into the backstory of how the Olympians came to be, and how when the when Zeus and his siblings, defeated the Titans, when the last Titan fell, his blood, when his blood splurted all over the water, now these giants sprouted out, and that's where you get the Cyclops, the Hydra, and all these other. But we hear more about if you know the story of Hercules, right? Or if you've read Odysseus, with Odysseus travels, because he comes across some of these beasts, and so they were able to defeat all of these giants, right? But with the help of two of them, right? Because Zeus was able to get two of them to turn on the rest, and with the help of the two of them, they were able to defeat all of the other giants. And so, with that history done, when we come to the end of the episode, um, towards the end of the episode, um, Elias sends Heron on a quest, right, to go find some metal to create a sword so that he can help and fight, right? And as he goes off to go find or go on his quest, because every hero needs a quest, right? As he goes off to his quest, um, a figure appears, and then we find that it is another one of the gods, which is Ares. And then the old man transforms, and we realize that the old man, who is Elias, is actually Zeus. And that's how the episode ends. And so I'm going to start with Nessie. Uh, with the backstory of the gods, kind of fill in the holes that I kind of any missteps that I might have made with respect to the backstory of the gods.
Well, you did a great job, Monaro, considering that's what the episode gave us. It's similar to what the stories were that came down from the Greek writers. They kind of borrowed a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B. The story is pretty similar. There was this great war in heaven, and there was a prophecy. There was a prophecy from like the original sky god, which was Uranus, when Kronos and co killed that family and took over. It was this curse that was passed down from father to son, like, hey, one day you're going to have a son who's going to do this to you. Wait till you see how that feels. And that's what Kronos was working with. So he gets this prophecy. So he knows one of his kids is going to rise up to overthrow his reign, and it's kind of like a succession thing.
Right.
And so he does his eat the baby thing. So yes, if I eat all my children, obviously I'm not going to have this prophecy come to fulfillment. Well, fate has its way. So you can circumvent fate all you wish. You can run and die from it, but it's going to have its way. So Zeus was that offspring, that the last born, the youngest. Okay. So his mom hid him away, like you say, and then he comes back full grown, gets his dad to throw up all of his brothers and sisters. So that's kind of like they're reborn in a way. So the first swallowed was the eldest, so she is technically now the last born. But anyway, that's symbolism. But yes, and then war ensues. It's called the Titanomachy, meaning the war with the Titans. So the prior generation of gods was called the Titans. They were like big, huge forces of nature. Um, so yes, with the help of the Titans were almost winning, and Zeus pulled a fast one, as he often does. He said, "Hey, you guys who have been locked up forever down in Tartarus, like these monsters that were created. They're called like the 100-handed ones. You might remember that from like Hercules, but
Yep.
big giant forces of nature who are released from the earth to Zeus made a deal with them and said, "Hey, you fight on my side, I'll let you go." Well, yes, they did that. They defeated the Titans, but then Zeus didn't keep his word and locked them up. So, how the backstory that we get of the giants being defeated and their souls going down into like this being trapped in this magic box, it's similar to how the War of the Titans ended. All the Titans get locked up in Tartarus. So very similar, very easy to digest. And it also kind of borrows from Pandora's box theme, where all the sins of the world are locked into this one little box. So keep an eye on that thing. I think it's probably going to be important later, but that's the backstory in a nutshell. Zeus seems to have this thing where he gets like some prophecy or some message in fate. And that's what I'm thinking. And like, oh, there's a problem coming up. I need to go make a baby to take care of it because mankind has to deal with this thing. But we're going to give him a little extra God blood Zeus boost. So we can make a hero, to defeat these things. So that's kind of the themes they're working with when Ares says, I thought humans were supposed to take care of their own problems. But Zeus is like, yeah, but I'm going to give him a little, Zeus juice to help him out. So that's essentially most of the
we find that
story.
with almost all of the offsprings that Zeus has, right? This Heron happens just to be the one that they're using for this particular story, but his story kind of almost reminds me of not Perseus. Who was the one that had to go against the Minotaur?
Theseus.
Theseus, wasn't it?
Yeah, Theseus.
Theseus.
Yeah. So his story kind of reminds me of that, and the king who put his wife and the son. That was Perseus, right? When
that was Perseus in a box and tossed them in the ocean.
Threw them in the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of both of those. And so, but obviously, this is something that happens later on, because they mention the whole thing about Perseus. They do allude to Perseus' story. So so this story is something that takes place way after that. So, Aemy, my question for you is, and I know how much you love women power, right? We all do, but I know this is something that's, true to you. Why do you think, or why would you think that they would put a woman in charge of of a legion of soldiers? Because in Greek and Roman history, we don't really see women as being the generals or the leaders of their legions or their troops. Why do you think they decided to kind of twist that and change that with respect to this particular story?
Yeah, and I do want to say the main reason I wanted to come on the stream Venaro is because I grew up liking anime, and so I really like the animation style, but I don't know necessarily as much as you guys know about the kind of backstory. But and AK put in the chat that she's Amazonian too, so I'm a huge fan of Wonder Woman. So they're the Amazons, they are a matriarchal society, and so of course their female would be the leader of it. And so I think that the show creators wanted I think it's a great counterbalance to the patriarchal kind of construction that the gods work under. And I think it also kind of is interesting because I believe this is the next episode, but she asks Heron to join them. And so she is also kind of something for him to look up to as far as a way that he could fight back, right? He doesn't decide to do that. He decides to stay with his mother. And I think actually in the next episode, I believe the mother also does something that shows that she's also very strong. So I would take both of those, the mother character and the female general, together and say that they're actually two strong women in this story. You could technically say Hera is too. She's a little bit of a petty bitch, so I don't want to be like. But so I want to take her as a powerful woman, just kind of put her up on the shelf because she's not representing us very well. But I think that a lot of what the showrunner, the show creators are doing with the female general, this Amazonian, is to kind of show that you do have this matriarchal society of the Amazons, and that then they can come in and, fight the evil, right? And they're a counterbalance to when we see the demons. I didn't see a female demon. They're also very male oriented. So it's kind of like the male, evil, power-hungry kind of figures, which are, you could say the gods are a little bit power-hungry, and then also the demons, you can kind of see them as similar in that way. And then you have the women who fight back, such as this Amazonian warrior, and then also, I believe in next episode, we're going to see, they're going to accuse the mom of being a demon, and she's going to actually, this is next episode, but she's going to cut herself, burn herself to prove that she's not. So you have this counterbalance to the, I would say, quite impulsive nature of a lot of the men in this story. I mean, Zeus is definitely impulsive when it comes to downstairs, so you know how it is.
And it's okay that you don't have any backstory, because I think what you said, it kind of hits the nail on the head. It's a counterbalance, right? Because in this time period, it's a heavily male-dominated type of society, and any power that a woman is given, it's either probably, we're gonna know, we already understand that she probably comes from good stock. Let's just put it like that. She comes from nobility, because most women who probably have those who have those roles would have to come from some sort of nobility. It's not like they're going to get somebody, a peasant off the street, and raise them to that level without some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Without some sort of act from somebody who's already in a position to be able to give them that. And another thing that I liked about her character, also being, they didn't, and this is how I looked at it, they didn't show Athena as part of the god pantheon, right? And so I think they needed to have a female warrior type as a counterbalance to also a lot of the male warriors, right? Because we know that Athena, who happens to be Zeus's daughter, is known as she's a virgin warrior, right? And so since they didn't really present her character as part of the storyline, I thought Alexia, funny that her name starts with an A, kind of embodies that female warrior role for me in the story.
Yeah, but I also do like that they counterbalance that with the very kind of domestic strength that Heron's mom has. So you do have, because if you just masculinize women and say, look how strong they are, then you're still putting so-called masculine traits up on a pedestal. And when I use terms like masculine and feminine, like, I know the binary's crap and we should just get rid of it altogether, but that's what a lot of these myths are working with, right?
Yeah.
And I also think what I liked about Alexia too is that she does go and try to, if you notice, she does go and try to tell the villagers what's happening, and a lot of them dismiss her as well. Right. So you also see how, because of how she presents as a woman, no matter how strong she is, that people kind of dismiss her. And we also have this obsession that the villagers have over Heron's mother's sexuality. They call her, pardon my language, they call her a whore. They call him a bastard, once again, pardon my language, because she was, had him technically out of wedlock. We learn more in episode 4, but we'll get there. But this also obsession that the male villagers have over Heron's conception and over the mom's alleged sexual, freedom, if you will. I think it also shows how, they're so obsessed with female sexuality to the point where you have Alexia, who has done nothing at all, like, sexual necessarily, but they see her and they say, ooh, boobs, we're not listening to anything talking at us with boobs, right? They see her as this domestic kind of figure, even though she's very much a warrior.
Agreed. And that's something that kind of pervades even into our society today, even though it's not, depending on the culture that you grow up in, or whatever the values that under which you are being raised under, it's still something that kind of pervades our culture into still today. The stigmatism of, if a woman exercises her sexual freedom to be able to, live her life as an adult and do adult things and do consenting adult things, that there is a label tied to her, as compared to if a male does it, or somebody who's seen as a male does it, it's something to be rewarded. And if a female does it, it's something to be shunned and ridiculed.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Hera later, but also this idea of the jealous woman
right.
is very much a theme in these myths as well.
Correct. But then again, that's the whole, and I'm gonna say it again because just can't get away from it. That's the whole patriarchal society that the Greeks lived under, and so a lot of these myths and tales really come from them, stem from them, right? This is how they explain the world to everybody. And so when you have the scholarly are the ones that are considered intelligent, or the ones that are considered learned, which were mostly the males in the society that were recognized as such, and that they explained the happenings and the events that they couldn't, because they couldn't explain it scientifically. They created this idea of gods and demons, and in order to explain what was happening into the world. So it kind of gave them some sense of control over their environment.
Yeah. Women in classical literature.
Sorry, AK, I'm not leaving you out. Did I
Sorry. Yeah. Can you hear me? I think either I'm frozen or you guys are frozen.
Ugly. Yeah, Monero froze for a bit, but we can hear you.
I'm not sure if it was me. Yeah. So women in classical society and mythology had very few avenues. You either had to sacrifice your femininity and become this masculinized version like the Amazons did, or you sacrificed your femininity and became this Vestal virgin type, or this sworn to virginity trope, which you see in Athena and Artemis. And if you wanted to be if you didn't follow either of those paths, you had the path of being the domestic person, the mother. And then you get that trope, oh, she's like Hera, she's jealous, she says, and she's just this jealous woman, or she's this pure domestic goddess like Hestia, who is the embodiment of hearth and home. She never leaves, she never goes out, she's just there by the hearth, tending the flame. And this is carried on into the ideas that the Romans had of the Vestal virgins. They just sit and attend the eternal flame, and should they lapse in their duty there, then Rome would fall. So the entire fate of the classical world rests between the legs of a woman's vagina. What she does with the vagina is gonna cause the fall of Rome or the fall of the Greek society. So they put a lot of weight on it.
You have the same thing in Chinese mythology and history, that anytime there was a last emperor and he was responsible for the fall of his empire, they would say it's because he was spending too many time with wine and women, right? There's this idea that women, we have if you go to the West, we have Helen of Troy. There's this idea that a pretty face, right, can bring down, a whole empire, and it's never really the guy's fault, right? It's always, because he is just taken away, by this woman, and and like with Zeus, we joke about him being a hoe and everything. Like, he's just left and right and center having all of these kids, but he's never really. But then Hera, she's mad at him, but she also lashes out at his human partners, who actually, we can talk about consent, especially in the 4th episode. They didn't really know what was happening, so the consent wasn't there. So she should put all 100% of her rage towards Zeus. But we show the idea of the jealous woman is also very common in Chinese mythology. To expect monogamy out of your husband was just too much to ask, right? So you must be jealous, right? So this idea of a man can have multiple partners, and a woman can, be wrathful and jealous because of that, but then she can't have multiple partners, otherwise she's like beheaded.
Right. So AK, that's a good that's a good segue into me talking about offspring, right? Let's talk about Heron. So Heron is this, regular dude, regular kid dude, trying to help his mom out. And then we find that he actually got some good jiu-jitsu moves, right? To be able to fight. And did you think that did you pick up on anything suspicious about old man Elias when he's telling him that he has to go on a quest to go find these ores in order to be able to make this magical sword? Like, did you get any inkling like, there might be something?
He was very sus from Jump Street. Zeus was not fooling me, not one little bit. Random old man shows up with a supposedly broken leg, who's supposed to be the town drunk, but he's sitting here speaking in very clear sentences that cut was way too clean for just for a fall down the gully. And then he gets picked up and taken to his mom's house, and they're sitting there chatting like old friends. How are you friends? You're already a social pariah, but you're friends with the town drunk. How, Sway? That's just not how. That's not how normal things work. And then when he starts again, when he's in conversation, he has all this knowledge. I'm like, you know what, Zeus? Come on, man. Let's just. Can we not play this game? Can you just be upfront with the boy? I figured the mom already knew, because there really, again, is no other way she's going to allow herself to be associated with the town drunk when she's already fighting the heavy stigma of being a single mother and being responsible for the dark clouds above the poli. So Zeus was not fooling me at all. And then you sit there offering quests like you're the random frog on the side of the road in Skyrim that you just happen to stop and look at, and he starts talking to you. Mr. Popper would like to offer you a quest. How do you know about this special ore that's hidden in the mountain to make magic swords, old man? Explain yourself. And who's gonna make it? You? The town drunk that supposedly knows nothing, that is always drunk. Because remember when he first fell, that man was like, you drink more than something or other. But it was a clear thing to say. They always saw this man drunk. Whose forge are you working at to make this magic sword, sir? You just happen to be able to put together a pot with some charcoal and found the right hammer and a slab of stone to beat this magic sword into existence. How does that work? That's not how blacksmithing works. Clearly.
Why you hating on old man Eli?
I'm just saying. Oh man, Eli was alive. That's why he was alive. He was not fooling me not one little bit. No, as soon as he came on the scene, come on, man.
Right.
Come on.
Well, that was his Jiminy Cricket.
The medicine for the elves.
That was his moment.
See, and that again is another crux of the problem. You could have been his Jiminy Cricket and actually told him who you were. Make it make sense for him. You come in and I'll wait to give my thoughts until we get to episode 4, but y'all know what happened, okay? I'm not even sure we could really even champion how any of this went down, because it was completely suspect. And that is Zeus's MO. Half the time he's a freaking ray of sunshine or some shit coming in making love to the women. Boy, if you don't start talking to these ladies before you pull out the peen, okay? Can we not? Zeus, please? Seriously. At least let them know who you are, okay? We can't warning.
At least he came and spent time with his son.
And I get that, and that is actually commendable. But you could have done that without all the nonsense, okay? If you're powerful enough to make all this other stuff happen, you can put yourself in a human form that doesn't have to be a raggedy old drunk dude. And you can let that kid know that I'm sorry things are this way, but this is the situation. Here's what I can do for you. They're him and his mom are half starving half the time. Zeus, I know, right? You are literally all powerful. You could have done better than sticking them on the side of a freaking cliff near this pulley where no one likes them because you took the damn sun away so Hera couldn't see them. And I get why you needed to do that, but couldn't you have given them better living conditions? Couldn't you have disguised those clouds as something else so the sunshine would still come and they wouldn't have to take blame for this? The woman went from she basically went from riches to rags. Okay, and I'm not gonna say exactly what because we ain't on that episode yet, but she was a big deal. You know, she had a little bit of status, not a lot, but a little bit.
This is another circumstance of hoeing go wrong. Hoeing gone wrong. When
she
hoeing
had better living places
goes wrong.
And he came in, and because he couldn't, well, no, there is no couldn't, because he wouldn't control the team. This is her life now. And this is how much bitterness and anger her son has had to grow up with. So once the truth is finally found, why do you think this boy would want anything to do with you?
Let me tell you, when your baby daddy ain't,
you can't be mad at him. Yeah. When your baby daddy is beyond ain't that. It's absurd. So no, to put it simply, no. The old man was not fooling me for a hot second. And to elaborate just a little bit more, Zeus and your damn hoeing always getting shit wrong. Always. Because then now Hera got to come in and she got to be petty. And I ain't even gonna talk about how many times I wanted to smack Apollo. Because we ain't on that episode yet, but I'll stop right there.
Good Lord, let's get on that.
This is a good segue into episode 2.
I did just want to say before we move on, though, Zeus is like the trope of a man afraid of his wife, like on crack. It's like all of the jokes of a guy that goes to the bar to like get away from his wife and drink and like bitch about his wives with all of his buddies. Like that's Zeus, like to the extreme. He literally has to go down on Earth in an old man human form to get away from his wife.
Oh my God,
it's absurd.
So
man,
you're
all powerful.
Yes,
God of heaven, God of King of the universe. You got the lightning bolt, and your wife, man. You can't even talk to your wife. You could just like tell her, say, hey, we got this situation on Earth we got to do something about. Do you have to solve it with your penis, though? Can we find another way?
Well, a lot of these situations that are created is because of his constant interference, right? And then
he's supposed to be interfering
because he constantly interferes. Right.
Yeah.
because he constantly interferes,
Yep.
there's these other the premise is the gods are not supposed to interfere in with the humans, right? The humans are
Right.
supposed to figure it out on their own. And I'm not going to accuse Zeus of being the only one that does it, because the other gods do it also, right?
Yeah.
I have a
But they get mad at Zeus because they're like, why can you go around the rules?
Exactly.
And we get in trouble
Exactly.
for it, and you're just,
I have a small
left, right, and center
interjection.
getting with all these women.
Well, two small interjections. Okay, first of all, Aries also ain't shit because he came down there trying to egg the damn shit on. Because you know what? See, Aries inherited Hera's petty. Because in all these stories, like let's see, what's another one? Clash of the Titans, the one that came out with Sam Worthington. Aries is the one behind the nonsense. Cause you took my daddy away. Just because your daddy having bastards, okay? You can't be mad at the kids being born. They didn't ask to be there. But also, and Sundavia brought up in the chat, where it's never explained why the cloud is what hid them from Hera.
Actually it is.
Was it?
Yeah, actually it is.
I missed that detail.
So the clouds that were over the town was actually put there by at the request of Zeus by Hermes. Hermes was the one that created the cloud in order to hide Heron and his mom from Hera's eyes, because she uses the crow. If you notice, she uses crows. How many like Game of Thrones references are we?
But crows
like a buzz.
Ravens. I'm sorry, crows, ravens
over it. Maybe I should investigate. Like
right.
And exactly.
So, I feel like he's really underestimating Hera.
And I think her thing is, if he was going to put her up, and if he had a child with her, he probably would have set her up in opulence. But what he did was he did the total opposite of that. He put her in a place where she didn't, where she was poor, and they grew up, needing.
They didn't have to be poor.
And so that also kind of fed into that would hide her, because there wasn't going to be any way for her to be able to kind of guess at where they were for the time being. Right.
Also, this whole thing. This whole thing is the gods' fault, though, so they should have absolutely intervened. You have this huge war that could have ended everything. Game of Thrones comes up. It's like the freaking Night King being defeated, and you assholes are still building crypts. Just burn the bodies, and we don't have to worry about this no more. They used the ocean to sweep all of the giants in and put them in a tomb. Burn the bodies and turn them to ash, and then no one can eat the dead flesh and turn into these even more horrible things.
That's what you call.
What are we doing here?
That's what you would call arrogance, right? That was just that's just them being arrogant, and then we could get into the conversation about the gods and their arrogance, because
like they straight up created the problem that they claim they can't interfere with now.
Nessie, Zeus and company not wanting to waste an asset. They know, hey, at some point we might have to pull these MFers out of the ocean and say, hey, we'll make a deal with you like we did with your brothers. Work for us, fight for us. Never throw a good giant away when you might be able to use it later.
Damn that, because Hera did call them back up, and it was to take over the rest of the world, and she damn near succeeded. So I disagree with you on that one.
That wasn't the reason why she brought him back up, but we'll get into that in the later episode. Let's segue into episode 2. So in episode 2, we get the truth of who Heron and his mother is, right? So we see Heron's mom is pregnant and she's getting ready to give birth. She is obviously in a palace, so that means she is a queen, and so she is getting ready to give birth. And somebody runs to tell the king that she's getting ready to give birth, and she's afraid. And so she's afraid because she says that the king will kill her baby if her baby is born. So she has she has a baby. It's a boy. And the first thing that the king immediately does is open the baby's eyes. And when he looks at the baby's eyes are brown. And of course, everything is good, everything is happy. And then, baby number 2 comes out. There's another baby. And he's like,
oh, wait, there's more.
There's another one up in that joint? So
it is like an infomercial, but wait, there's more.
So another baby comes out, and so she has twins. And so the midwife or whoever is delivering the baby said there were 2 placentas. And if you understand what that means, is that these were 2 separate fraternal twins. They weren't identical. And so when he opens the second baby's eye, the baby's eyes are blue. Mm-hmm. And so he goes into, and then at that particular moment, Zeus comes in, and there's a lot of lightning and flashing and blah, 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 blah happening. And then old boy is getting ready to throw Zeus's baby out, but mama was like, not my baby. And she, grabs the king to grab her baby and stabs him, and he falls over the balcony. And then, but her other son is being held by the other midwife across the room. And he's like, yo, we got to get out of here. But she was like, my son, she goes, don't worry, he'll be okay. And then swoosh, they're out. And then we go back to the prelude before that day. So apparently she had been married to this king. And so apparently the king was less than nice. And then all of a sudden, she goes out to take a bath. And because, of course, she's taking a bath, right? And there is a beautiful bird sitting perched up on a tree, but the bird got the eye for the lady taking the bath.
And along came Zeus. Zeus out creeping.
And so one day she in her room minding her business, combing her hair, and then Zeus comes in as the bird and appears as her husband. And then he says sweet words to her, and he kisses her, and then they do the horizontal mamba, and then he goes off. And then her real husband and then when she's with her husband the next day, which is her real husband, he's like, take your clothes off, I'm ready. And he's drunk, and she's like, what is happening here? And then Zeus comes back the following day, and she's like, he's like, what's wrong with you? I got you some flowers, blue roses. I'm like, can we
stop with
can we not with the thrones?
Like,
okay. He's got blue roses.
It's too much at this point.
He's got
make
blue roses,
them yellow or something.
And then she's like, oh. And then of course another more of these mambas are taking place. And then the following day, her real husband come back, and he's acting all, brute man, hardy. And she's like, yo, I don't know what's going on. I'm getting dizzy. And so when Zeus comes in and he's acting all nice with her, she goes, something's up. And so she puts out her knife. Her spidey senses had been tingling. So she was just like, who are you? And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, nah, something's up, bruh. And then he reveals himself. She's like, oh, you're a god.
Fuck, you're a god. No, that is called rape, you asshole. Sorry, excuse my language. I apologize.
I also wonder if there was a difference in like the level of pelvic thrusting too between the two guys. Maybe I think Zeus probably was giving it to her a little bit better too. We have to assume for science.
And then Hera's spidey senses are tingling, and she's like, and so Apollo is like,
Apollo ain't shit either.
Appears in the mirror like, yo,
Pops, she can see you.
Hera scoping. I'ma come in and step in for you. I'ma be your wingman. And so he's like, yo, I'll come back and see you later, babe. and then kisses her and walks into the mirror, and then Apollo sneaks through, and then Hera's like peeping, trying to figure out what's happening, because of course the kingdom happens to be within view, right? And then Zeus appears behind her, and she's like, where you been? And he's like kicking off like, sea life. He goes, oh, I was with Poseidon, handling some biz with Poseidon. She was like, mm-hmm.
That is a little clue there. That is a clue about the timing of the things, like the giant washed up on shore. Will Zeus is having his like affair with this.
He knew he could use that as a lie.
Right.
Yeah.
And so Apollo steps in, and he's like peeping. He's like, yo, Pops must really like you and stuff. She goes,
it's like he's creeping on that woman. What?
Right? And then he's like, and then he reveals that, oh, you about to have a baby. And she's like, what? And she's like, oh. And then fast forward to the point where we now get Zeus taking them into this village to kind of hide them from Hera. And, what did I miss? I think I missed something. And then we fast forward to them being hidden into this village, and that's how they ended up there, because this was Zeus's way of protecting his son and the mother, because he did actually care about her, right? In his own twisted way, he did care about her. And I know in his own twisted way, he also cared about Hera. It's like having your cake and eating it too, right? And so
all the cake,
right?
Something has to be said though, that when it came to protecting the baby, Zeus was kind of lollygagging a little bit in the corner, because moms had to come with the knife and just so happened to toss that dude over the balcony. And then even after that, he comes to do the big teleport thing, and he's not caring about no baby but his. Right? What about my son? Oh, he'll be all right. You don't know that, sir. You do not know that.
You're right. He didn't know that. But I guess he
could have grabbed that boy.
I know. Right?
I guess he figured since the uncle wouldn't have hurt him. He didn't expect that he did. But
Zeus is just so obsessed with his seed that it's like, okay, that's mine.
He don't care about no other baby.
Like, Zeus, come on, man.
What did you
selfish bastard?
What did you ladies think about how the other gods, like we discussed, Apollo and Hermes, these are also not Hera's kids, but they belong to Zeus, right? How they're kind of caught in the middle between the two of them. Like, I want to get favor with my dad, but I know his wife. I need to kind of like kiss her butt too. They're kind of caught in the middle. And she still, like when she looked at Hermes and said, like, yeah, another one of Zeus's bastards,
Right.
You know what the funny thing about that is?
Yeah.
Hera doesn't really give a whole lot of shade to the godly bastards. Like Apollo and his twin, they're cool. All the other ones, we don't ever hear no stories about Hera coming after them and being petty. It's the human demigods that she takes issue with. Which again, stop
up to Olympus. So while they're on Earth and they're like vulnerable or whatever before they are risen to the Olympian state, she gives a whole lot of shade to them. Like she tries to kill them, but once they get that godhood, whatever, they're accepted onto Olympus, she's like, damn it.
Yeah.
Which either way is just still petty.
It's the arrogance, because she, a lot of the gods. I don't think Hera was the only one that felt that way. A lot of the gods felt that they were above humans, but they didn't lord it over them in such a way to make the humans feel inferior. but there was a part of the gods that were in Mount Olympus that did feel that the humans were inferior, and Hera being part of that fraction. I guess that was why they made the agreement that they would not meddle in human affairs, and they wouldn't interfere with the humans or interact with humans, right? But of course, Zeus never paid attention to that. And because Zeus never paid attention to that, neither did a lot of the other gods pay attention to that, right?
Yeah, the fish rots from the head down. So, they're going, if he's doing bad behavior, they say, well, then if he does it, we can do it. And you want to look at it as, you could just take it as classism, I guess we could put it that way. You would think, oh, Zeus doesn't see himself as above the humans because he goes down and mates with them. But not really, because like we were saying, the baby that wasn't his, that was fully human, he was like, nah, let's leave him. So he definitely has some of that kind of, gods are above humans thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's
also,
not going to come back and bite anybody in the ass. That's not going to come back and bite anybody in the butt. No. Oh, no.
I also think having the ones up in Olympus, that's, Hera can kind of keep an eye on them and control them and kind of, throw shade at them to their face. Whereas the ones down on Earth, she feels like, they're further away and she can't really control them. So I think there's also this idea of, as long as if they're up there where she can, keep an eye on them, she's fine with it.
Yeah.
But either way, she's still she's not a great example of, women have been cheated on for generations, and you are perfectly capable of just blaming the man and not the woman. So,
well, in this particular scenario, the women are not the ones that are stepping out. But then again, in that particular society, it wasn't something that was a normal behavior, unless you were someone who was a sex slave or a prostitute who slept with multiple men, or for some reason somebody had gotten taken raped, or for some reason, right, raped, and then they had a child from that rape. But even after having a child or rape, you're still branded, right? Because obviously it's your fault that you got raped. It's your
always
fault.
The woman's fault.
It's your fault anyway.
So absurd.
But we'll get.
Let's take a big old drink on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's your fault anyway. So I wanted to go back into the comment that Amy had made earlier about women and jealousy, and that it's always the woman who gets blamed whenever there is an extramarital affair, right? When there's an extramarital affair, and this is something that happens to this day. Usually, the person that really gets blamed for the extramarital affair most of the blame is placed on the woman, and so then there's always the question, well, why do men cheat? Well, most men cheat. I won't say all men cheat, but those that do, right? They do because they know that whatever backlash they're going to get is temporary, because they know that most of the backlash will fall on the women that they cheat with. It won't necessarily fall on them. And that is the truth of society, right? And women especially are more so guilty of that. Like, if you're the woman that's getting cheated on, you would, for some reason, you are going to take your rage out on the woman that your husband cheated with, and then your husband, for some reason, you'll get mad at him and he'll say something, and then y'all work it out, and then, okay, we're just going to make her the villain. So there is some level of cognitive dissonance that allows you to rationalize why you no longer want to be upset at him. So you take the anger and you place it on the woman, when you have no idea what led to that relationship forming. You have no idea what your husband said to this woman that led him that led to that relationship forming, and her forming some sort of emotional and physical attachment to that person. And so now she gets, the scarlet A put on her, right? She gets the scarlet A put on her, and then he goes off, and then he gets to, live happily ever after, and you're the one that's branded for life. And so this Hera kind of embodies the many women that are portrayed as the jealous woman, and instead of putting her jealousy, her and placing her anger where it actually belongs, she puts most of it on the woman, as if it was the woman's fault, because if for some reason the woman is to blame for Zeus's community peen. I don't like he's already proven that he is gonna step out on you. Hence the fact that he has bastard god children, right?
Centuries,
right?
That
he has bastard children around. So he's already proven that he'll do that. But not only do you take it out on the woman, but you also take it out on the children. And please forgive me if I have a small, I'm going to have a small Game of Thrones moment here. And this is going to be the one time that I'm probably going to say something that that probably AK will be happy with me saying. This is where we kind of have this same comparison between Catelyn and Hera, right? Where Catelyn, she takes all of her anger out. Well, she didn't have a woman to take her anger out on, so she takes most of her anger for Ned out on John, and so she does a little bit of cognitive dissonance of putting misplaced anger on John for what she believes to be the sins of the father. And so because she wants to, she develops feelings for Ned, and she loves Ned, and she, creates a life with Ned. John is just a reminder of the infidelity that Ned had. And if he wasn't there, she could have just forgotten about it and moved on with life, but she can't never forget it because he's always there. And not only is he there, he is the spitting image of Ned compared to her own children, except for Arya. And so that kind of builds on top of that anger. And I think for Hera, it's the same thing, right? I think her anger more so stems from these little bastard demigods are a constant reminder to her of Zeus's infidelity, and maybe in her mind, getting rid of them will kind of assuage her anger and her hurt as the constant reminders of his infidelity. We could have said the same thing about Cersei, right? When she kills pretty much all of Robert's bastards, right?
Technically, that was Joffrey.
Well,
was it really?
Well, they're killed. That was her kind of assuaging her, the reminder of Robert's infidelity. That was her way of assuaging whatever hurt or anger she may have, to erase that. So again, this is this thing that happens even in modern day, even to the day. I'm sure there's plenty of friends, family, or that or you know by proximity that have experienced something close to that. And it's usually either the woman or the child of the woman that bears the brunt of the anger. And so, and this is where in Hera's situation, this is where we see that anger and hurt go to the extreme, right? Because in the next episode, we're going to get to the point where she confronts Zeus about it, as to she's always been faithful to him. She's never stepped out on him, but he constantly steps out on her, and so they have this confrontation. Yes, Nessie.
And the thing is, too, everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's
It's a
not
public
discreet
shaming.
about his actions in the least, which not that saves it from being, he's slighted her, he's hurt her, he's degraded her, he's, made a laughing stock out of her. How is she supposed to hold her head up among her other peers and equals, knowing the entire time that they're laughing about, oh, who's Zeus getting up with this week? Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, behind her back. She also is very rightly concerned, I'm sure, about her own children's place.
Right.
By Zeus bringing all of his kids on board on Mount Olympus, like, this is taking away honors and glory and power that her own children should and rightly should have, being, the children of Zeus and Hera. Like, you have Ares, you have Hephaestus, and I believe he is the third one. She is like, okay, you're the cupbearer. You get to bring the ambrosia and food of the gods to us. You're kind of like the waitress, but the servant. You're kind of a servant class. And one by one, these honors are kind of taken away from them because, say, when Zeus brings Athena into Mount Olympus, she's like this great craftsman. Even she's a warrior, she's a craftsman. So she's kind of taken away a little bit from both Ares and Hephaestus. So all that worship that they would be receiving and accolades they would be receiving from humans is now being displaced to another one of Zeus's children. Look at Apollo. He comes on board and he's like the golden son from that point. Zeus is so proud of him. And he's like, Ares, yeah, he's okay. And Hephaestus, he throws Hephaestus from Mount Olympus and cripples him. That's
depending on what story you read.
Yeah,
and some of them say that Hera did it.
We know it was Zeus. But yeah, and
they both petty
or what have you, he throws this child away. So rightly, she is concerned about her own children's place and their power and the accolades they receive from humans' worship, because worship is power. So when that is being taken away and trickled away and given to other of Zeus's byblows, then that diminishes not only her power, and because nobody respects her, but it diminishes her children's power because that's taking worship away from them.
I think there's also this idea of desirability. Women have being desirable is a part of their power. So I think it was like when Beyonce came out with Limited, I was like, well, crap, if Beyonce can get cheated on, like, none of us are safe, right? Like, one of the most desirable woman in the world. So there's also this idea of, like, there must be something wrong with me, right? That I'm not enough for him.
Right.
So I think Hera also, it makes her insecure about her own ability to attract her husband and to, for lack of a better term, satisfy his needs. Right. So I think there's also, if she feels like it's an indictment toward her, when really it's always an indictment on the man when he cheats. It's always his insecurities and his lack of, good sense. It's always his fault, is what I'm saying. But then when Hera reacts in such a way, she's then in the wrong, right? When she blames the child and the other woman, and especially as we're going to see in the 4th episode, and as we just kind of talked about, that Heron's mom didn't really know. She thought that she was with her husband. Therefore, she didn't really give her consent. So if we're looking at this from a Me Too lens, technically it was sexual assault.
Yeah.
Who's the Pendragon?
Of course.
Who's the Pendragon?
Most of the women that Zeus had slept with wasn't with their consent, because he disguised himself when he went to go and sleep with them. He totally disguised himself. And
this idiot turned himself into a cow once.
And of course, and this is what I said. This is why I say that it didn't matter, because the woman will always be to blame, right? All of these women that had gotten impregnated by Zeus and had his children, they were the one that were outcast. They were the one that were to blame, and they were shunned. And not only were they getting heck from the village that they lived in or the kingdom that they were in, they had to deal with Hera. And not only did they have to deal with Hera, their children had to deal with Hera. One of the prime examples is Zeus. I'm not Zeus.
Hercules.
Hercules. Like
Yeah.
Hercules was probably one of. I think that's
Worst.
one of Hera's like most was one of the worst
Most
things
hated.
that Hera did to one of Zeus's children. Like what she did to Hercules, I thought was absolutely horrific, right?
Mhm.
And it's almost to the point where Zeus um, can't really like stop her from doing it. So he's only left with trying to give them some sort of protection or kind of like a way out in order for them to be able to overcome whatever it is that she throws at them,
Right.
which is a good segue into the next episode, right? So in episode 3, we finally get to go into Mount Olympus and meet the other gods, right? We meet Apollo, we meet Ares, we meet Hermes, and then of course Hera. We get to meet Hera. And so we get to also see the dynamics and the interaction between them. So we learn that Ares, who is Hera's son, right? And he is the legitimate son of Hera and Zeus. And then we get to meet Apollo and Hermes, who are the bastard sons of Zeus. And of course, Ares, who is considered the god of war, has a chip on his shoulder, right?
Speaking of that, his parents are always at war with one another, of course. Yeah.
Perfect, makes sense,
Yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep.
And so they he has a chip on his shoulder, right? And he lets it be known how he feels about his siblings, right? His siblings. We only get to see, I think, both Hermes and Apollo. We don't really get to see the other.
Yeah, we don't get to see Artemis, Apollo's
Right.
twin, either.
No, we don't see Artemis. We don't see Athena. We don't
No.
see Hephaestus. We don't see any of those. So that's why I said this particular story, I think it was more so centered around Heron, more so than the gods. And I think they only included the gods that they need to in order to kind of drive the
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
And it's I think it was probably it was done on purpose because Heron is considered a bastard. Is considered a bastard, right? And it's kind of like you see the bastard godsons and then you see the bastard demigod son, how they are viewed and what role they play within the different worlds that they live in. And so then we also get to meet the main demon god, Seraphim, the horn.
Yeah, Seraphim, an angelic name,
And his name
I
is Seraphim.
know.
Yeah.
right?
His origin story is even more telling of the fuckery of Zeus.
Right.
Okay, how many people thought as soon as they saw Seraphim, they're like, "That's his brother. That's that lost baby."
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, because it's like
kind
of
you
a couldn't be
don't
anything
just
else.
leave a kid alone and like you never see him again, right?
Right.
That never happens in these stories where you're like, oh, then there was this other kid, but
Yep.
never worry about that. You won't see it throughout the whole rest of the story. No, I was like, yeah, that's
No, the son of a king, the firstborn son of a king. No,
Yeah.
That
No,
couldn't have
you'll
been
never
anybody
see-
else but him.
irrelevant, AK, irrelevant. He's irrelevant. We'll never see him ever again. It was just to create drama in that one scene.
oh,
of the
remember he
birth.
died. His mother heard that he died. You know, heard rumors that he died. So.
Oh my god! And every time you're reading or watching anything, and they're like, "Oh, and so died," and it's like, I better
Right.
see the body, or else that did not happen. And even then, that could be a body double.
Yep.
I'm not
We
having
saw what
it.
happened. We saw what happened in Stranger Things. Okay. Nope.
Exactly. And anyway, and I'm reading something called The Poppy War right now, and I have a book club, and they were saying, and then so was never heard from again, and everyone in my book club was like, he's still alive, he's still alive.
If you don't see a body,
If you don't see a body,
Real quick sidebar: is that from a series? Because that title sounds familiar.
The
like I've
Poppy
heard
War,
it before.
It's actually. Hello, are you guys ready for a plug? It's actually a book series. There are 3 of them, and I'm going to do some future 2021 content on it. And it just got greenlighted for a show.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
And it is by a wonderful Chinese-American author. Her name is Rebecca Kwong. And please read more female written fantasy. I promise you will not be disappointed.
Indeed.
Okay, plug over.
Okay, back to the show.
Back to the show.
Fantasy, but I won't say that it is of the. Anyways. So,
I'm just saying,
now
if you want better written female characters,
yes.
maybe just have females write them.
Maybe.
So in this episode,
It's a thought.
in this episode, the sword gets created, right? Elias creates the wonderful sword. We also get the moment where a conversation between Heron and his mother about the truth about his birth and why they are there. There was the moment where the villagers came and tried to wanted to ascertain whether she was a demon or not because of the cloud. And as Amy alluded to, she took and they had a hold of Heron, and as a way of trying to save her son, she did take the hot metal and put it on her skin to prove that she wasn't a demon. Yes, AK.
Sidebar, real quick. That's a callback to episode 1. Well, at least I think it is when what's her name asked him to come and fight for them. Why the hell would I fight for these people? No, I mean they're technically not a part of the Poli. They just live near it, and I can't be mad at the boy for that. Not at all.
That is true. That is true. We didn't touch that. There was the point when Alexia did ask Heron to come and fight with her, and he was right, and he did make a very good point. He goes, why would I fight for them? They don't even think I belong. They think I'm less than nothing. Yeah. I'm not even considered a part of the society. Which him and
bastard to his face.
Yeah.
Right.
And we have that scene in the first episode that Monaro talked about where, he's trying to sell something and he goes, you're lucky to get this much, bastard. It's like
2 drachmas.
You're totally.
Do you know how much 2 drachmas is?
Yeah.
That's not even 2 pennies.
No, and they're already so poor.
It's not.
And he can kick all their butts.
And let us also point out it took like 5 guys to hold him down when they try to come for his mom.
Exactly.
Right?
So it's like they should be. I think some of the reason they put him down so much is because they're afraid of him. Like in the Disney's Hercules, right? They're like, don't touch anything, Hercules. Right?
It's a psychological thing, right?
Yeah.
I think we had discussed this a long time ago as they in order to be able to exercise power over somebody that you feel is stronger than you, you psychologically have to make them feel inferior.
You become a bully.
Right? And just continually to do that in order to make them feel inferior where they don't feel like they do have the power to overtake you. So that's that kind of like that psychological warfare that they play of putting him in his place. And like you alluded to earlier, also, Amy, the classism or the class system that they have, and little do they know that he is royalty of the highest degree. We're not talking petty royalty. We're talking Olympian god royalty. So we get this conversation. He finds out the truth, and then when he finds out the truth, he runs off like most emo kids do, and then Elias comes in, and then so now his mom and Elias now having a conversation, and she confronts him and said, "Listen, you told me that we were gonna come here, but that things were gonna get better, and here I am. We've been here. He's been suffering. This isn't right. This isn't fair. And then my other son, like." He's trying to say, listen, I did the best that I could, but this was the only way for me to keep you safe from Hera. He goes, are you, and then she, she doubles
She calls it
Are
right.
you a god or not? She was like, are
Right?
you a god or not? Are you scared of her or not? And then he was like,
He couldn't say shit.
He
Like
didn't say it.
you scared of your wife, but you still out here with the community peen. Come on,
right?
bro.
And so he goes out, and then of course, and then he reveals himself to Heron, and Heron's like, that whole time, you had me and Ma out here,
That's what I was saying.
Yeah.
for scraps, and you could have did something about it. Yo, you ain't bitch, dude. And I don't want your stinky sword. Now, had it been me though,
Now, yeah, the
I
sword
wouldn't
is
have
not
been
for
throwing
blame.
that
Been like,
sword
hey, cool.
nowhere.
So you're my daddy. I'll have that sword now. Okay, thanks. Bye.
I'll take the sword, but you
Just-
can keep rocks.
Hey, sword in the stone foreshadowing. That's all I'm going to say.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was totally thinking Arthur.
Yeah.
I think it also
Little
shows how
Arthur's gonna
Zeus
be
will do
coming
like
back
the
for that
bare minimum.
sword, you know, he's
Zeus
got
will do like the
daddy
bare
issues
minimum and
right
expect
now.
all this praise, and that's what's
Yeah.
I think really annoying. Is he's like, well, I kept you alive even though you were living in squalor, like dad of the year over here, you know.
Yeah,
and
man, I brought you a rabbit.
I forgot about that.
And then so he goes home, right? And then here comes Hera, like, you over here messing with these hoes out here, you all up here with these hoes. And did you ever love me? He was like, of course I love you, baby.
Oh,
He said,
baby,
do you
oh,
love her?
baby, I love you. Oh, baby, oh, baby.
He said, do you love her too? And he's like, And so now she gets all up in her feelings, right? She gets up in her feelings. Meanwhile, here's emo Heron meets up with Alexis. They're out here on a mission to go find these maps and do all this other, side quest, the side quest, right? And then here comes Seraphim. Seraphim is on a mission. He's out here. I know the map is here. He's trying to find old girl, and old girl is trying to hide. Oh, I did forget to say that when he was chasing after her, right, trying to get the map, he's going from village to village looking for her, right? He's going village to village. And so when they see the demon squad coming through, everybody's trying to run to get to the safe. I'm just gonna call it Helm's Deep.
To the mountain.
To the mountain.
Yeah.
They're trying to get to Helm's Deep. Their version of Helm's Deep, right? So they all running, and then Heron and his mom are separated, right? And they're all running, and then he gets, they was trying to close the door on him before he got it, and I was like, oh, he should have punched him in
Heron
the face.
was the one that told them about the freaking Helm's Deep.
I
And
know,
what did that
right?
idiot say? He was like, oh, I don't take orders from you, bastard. Bitch, he wasn't giving you an order. He was trying to get you to safety, you stupid.
That's why old girl came.
What the
Listen,
hell?
shut the hell up and do what he say. And
Son,
then he
you
was
got
like,
time for that pettiness when you're running for your life?
and so he goes in
don't
there
have time
and
for
he's
this.
looking for his mom Dukes. He can't find his mom Dukes, and he's like, I gotta go back there and get my mom. And so she's out there running, looking for her son, Heron, and she can't find him. And so she sees this lady, and they both hiding. Meanwhile, he's out here looking for his mom, and then thump, thump, thump. Here comes Seraphim. Seraphim is riding on his griffin.
Oh, as you do.
As
you
one
do.
does, just cash on the griff.
Right? He's riding his griffin with his
entourage,
trident, or a version of
He's got his posse.
right? And he's like, okay, I need to figure out where this old girl at. Where's Alexia? Because she got something I need. And so he goes to the villagers, and he's like, who's in charge here? And who's in charge here? Nobody steps up, and old boy is in the back like, I ain't. He goes, well, if you step up and say something, I promise I won't hurt you, blah, 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 blah. And so, old boy, like, yo,
I can speak for this.
Good. He goes, you look like you're noble. Are you in relation to the Accretions? I think he said. He's like, yeah, He goes, "You smell
That's
like
my
it."
cousin, man. That's my cousin.
Yeah, that's his cousin. Mhm.
Yeah. And
Oh, you know my cousin? What's up?
you know my cousin Ray Ray? Yeah, I know your cousin Ray
That's my
Ray.
cousin.
He's
Cousin Ray Ray
like,
about to get you
so he
killed.
goes, "Do you know where I could find Alexia?" And all he's like, no. He goes, all right, so yeah, you wasn't much good to me anyway. And so before he leaves, he slices him up in half and then goes off to go try to find him. And then what happens is Hera, right? Hera being Hera and being petty, what she does is when Alexia was trying to escape, her cape came off, and she finds the cape, and
It just flew away.
she just so happened to have the cape swoosh through the air like a dancing bag and land where Heron's mom is, right? And so
But
the
Zeus
Hellhound,
was doing
which
his
is
little thing.
Seraphim's pet,
He was
Yes,
doing his
yeah.
little thing.
Technically,
Zeus was
I
not-
put that. Yeah, I put that on Zeus because Zeus broke the rule again and tried to hide her. So Hera was like, "Okay, two can play that game," and
right?
she blew off the cape, and we got into this massacre.
And what does he hide? What does he hide Alexia behind?
Some
A
damn
wall
blue
of blue
roses.
roses.
So which
rose
one
Like,
bush
okay,
out
blue
of the wall.
roses?
Look here,
Going out the wall.
in season 2, if Alexia and Heron are not a thing, I'm gonna have an issue with all these blue roses and that chemistry that was popping off between them. I'm gonna have a problem. Somebody's gonna get an angry email.
You don't set that up and then just leave us hanging like that.
I'm saying though.
So after the Hellhound finds him, and so here comes Seraphim around the corner, like, "Yo, where's Alexia?" She's like, "I don't know who that is," and he's having a back and forth with her, and then all of a sudden, here comes Heron, "Mom!" and he's like, "Get away from my mama!" And so they get into a fight, and unfortunately, Seraphim smashes him, right? And so she runs to try to get him, but then she trips and falls, and he's
Classic
looking at
horror
her,
movie trope.
and he's looking at her, and he's looking at Heron, and he's like, they must have a close relationship. He goes, "You're a good fighter, and you're angry, and I don't, you know what? I don't want to waste you. Don't make me kill you." And so, meanwhile, before he's getting ready to kill her, she's like, she takes her little medallion, and she's
pendant.
praying.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Your prayers will not save you." She's like, "I'm not praying for me." And he's like,
Ooh, that got me right there.
You gotta wonder right there if she had an inkling,
right?
That's my baby.
Yeah.
Right?
I
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, "Oh my goodness."
They say moms always know.
Yeah.
Right? And then of course Seraphim ends up, murking her.
Nothing worse.
And I'm like, "Dad, you just murked your mama."
dude.
And
nothing
then-
worse
And
than
then he
Slayer
steals
in
the
eyes
sword
the
of
old
power.
gods.
He didn't steal the sword of power yet.
No,
Well,
he got
he
the
took it.
locket. He got the
He
locket.
grabs her. He
Right.
grabs the locket. He
got
opens
the
it, and
Horcrux.
he sees the blue and then the brown, which is supposed to represent Heron and him. And then he closes it because he doesn't think anything of it. He takes the locket and he takes his little baby bro prisoner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as mom dies, you see Zeus's reaction. Hera's back there smirking. He's like, "Well, that was her fate to die, I guess." Oh, well.
That's how the weave ran for her, It was what it was. He couldn't do shit.
Yep.
And
That
so,
was the fate. It was
That-
always going to be her fate to die, man. That's
well,
always
the thing is
fate
that we're
of-
interfered, right? This is the whole thing
Mhm.
about the interference, right?
Yeah.
So this becomes a cat and mouse game between Zeus. And unfortunately, this cat and mouse game between Zeus and Hera starts to affect the ones that he was trying to protect.
The
Yeah.
small folk
That's
always
the thing.
catch it
Everything
worse.
he touches dies. Like whoever comes into his life that he interferes with they always get hurt in the end, right? He tried so hard, I guess you could say, to protect her all of these years, and in the end, the reason that she was killed is because of, if she would have never met Zeus, she would have been an unhappy, with
If
the
he'd
king
have
that
saved
she's married
that
to.
baby like he was supposed to, he'd have saved
You might
that
not
baby.
have had this extra problem.
Yeah,
because
and
the whole
just says
demon
again,
thing
Zeus,
started
your actions have
with him.
consequences, right? You just left the baby
Yes.
there, and then it comes up and then kills your love, right?
Mhm.
And it's hinted at that he does love her, because when Hera's like, "Do you love her?" and he's like, it's like, yeah, you do.
That's a yeah on Zeus.
Yeah, that's if
pretty
it's
much
not a no and you hesitate, it's a yes.
Yeah, that's why I said I do believe that he did love her and did care about, and he did love Heron, but he's a god, and so it's kind of like you've never experienced love and affection yourself, right? Because your father was trying to swallow you anyway.
Yeah.
Your father was trying to
It
swallow
all
you
goes back to the childhood.
Yeah.
when you were 5.
He's taking out his daddy issues on all his bastards.
But what's so funny about Zeus is he does the same thing. Like he gets the same prophecy, but instead of swallowing the baby, he actually swallows his wife, his first wife. Like
What?
dude,
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
like,
Hello.
what are you going
Wasn't
through?
there also a stint where he had Hera like chained up in the sky somewhere? Like
Well, yeah,
Hephaestus
that
had
was
come
after
out?
there was a. We're gonna get to that, right?
Yeah,
They do
Hera's
allude to
declared
something
war.
like that because there was a revolt against Zeus, and
Yeah.
the revolt was actually taken on by I think it was led by Hera. I think in the mythology it was actually led by Hera. So they kind of play on that also here, where there is an actual revolt, because everybody confronts Zeus, right? Everybody confronts Zeus and says, "Listen, you said that we were not supposed to meddle with the humans, and here you are. You're over here meddling and doing things." And so Hera confronts him, right? And what she does is a lot of the gods were actually standing behind her, with respect to the rules that they were set. He goes, "You can't make rules and don't follow them and expect us to follow them." And Zeus is trying to be like, "Yes, I can. You're supposed to do what I say." And then
Do as I say, not as I do.
Well, he's leaving his position vulnerable by doing this, by interfering on Earth, and
he's too much of an idiot to admit that.
It is a cult. It is like a cult leader. Cult leaders make these rules for their followers, and then they don't have to follow it. So,
case in point, what we now are modern day that we are kind of living through, right? We're kind of living that through that in some sense, in some sort of modern day type of I have the power, I make the rules, and everybody's supposed to bend to the rules that I make, but I don't have to. I don't have to follow the rules, but you do. Right?
I think Zeus' superiority complex bites him in the butt every single time.
Well, it all comes back to being like the baby child. Like he was, not only was he the baby, but he was also, because his brothers and sisters were swallowed, it's like they had never been. So but it's like they should owe him for rescuing him from their fate, right? So since he was never swallowed, that kind of made him the eldest, as all the others are being sent back out of their dad's mouth. They're all being reborn. They're all technically now his juniors because he was never swallowed.
Yeah.
So they feel like defer to him as the eldest, and it's kind of like reverse order, like from female to male to male to female, because the female goddesses were swallowed first, and then his brothers. So when they came back out, it's like the males were given dominance and a place above the females, who were then last out. So Hera was one of the last ones out. She became like the oldest of the daughters, but she lost her place, because of the hierarchy was split. So
and
there was also
remember that all of these siblings kind of grew up together inside of Kronos, so they already had an established relationship with each other. They had an established relationship with each other because Zeus was already full grown,
hanging out in Dad's belly.
Right? Yeah. They kind of they kind of fostered a relationship with each other while they were inside of their dad. And so Zeus didn't actually have a true relationship with his siblings.
Right.
And it wasn't until they were a full adult and he decided to, you know, take his dad down. But there was a sense of selfishness in it too, because he knew he wasn't going to be able to do it by himself. So he was going to need his siblings in order to, you know, overthrow his dad and the rest of the Titans. So there was a little bit of there was a selfish, self-preserving need for him to have to rescue his siblings. And so there's also that power dynamic, right? Because not only am I your savior, right? If it wasn't for me, you still would have been stuck in there. And if I had killed my father, you guys probably would have perished as well. So I am, in fact, your savior. And by default, because I saved you, I should lead, right? I should be your leader. So there wasn't a democracy in that. So I get to set the rules. You either follow them, but that doesn't mean I'm subject to the rules that I make.
Yeah, and I think also by cheating on Hera constantly, it's kind of a common thing that narcissists do is they keep pushing the envelope, and they figure, oh, if you're just gonna keep taking it, right, then I'll just kind of work around it. It's another way to control her and to kind of put her in her place, right? Every time that she finds out he's cheating on her, it's a constant reminder that in the end she can lash out at, you know, his kids and his the women he cheated on, but she can never really overthrow Zeus. And you guys were talking about how obviously he's leaving himself vulnerable to a usurpation because of this. So
which it pretty much almost comes down to, right?
Yeah,
it comes down to that. And
so his superiority bites him in the butt, like every single time, in every respect of the word, you know.
And so we find that Hera actually meets up with Hasley actually has a meeting with Seraphim as we delve into the next episode, the last episode. She actually meets with Seraphim, right?
Right.
And so now we get Seraphim's backstory. So
hold on real quick, Monero, just before we move on, there's a little tidbit that happened in that argument between Hera and Zeus. Hera reminds Zeus that she was actually queen of the skies before he married her.
Right.
So he basically took over her territory as well as doing all this other fuckery with her.
Just like a man.
Yeah.
Well, Zeus got his gift for lightning from one of the
100 handers. Yeah.
He got his gift of thunder from them. So
Zeus takes. He's a taker. He borrows a little, he makes deals with people to use them, or whether they're gods or titans or monsters or women or what have you. He's a taker. He takes power from his children. He takes power from his wife. He took power from his father. He took power from his mother. So he's a gatherer. He gathers it all in, and he will use you, and he will use them to whatever ends that he feels that he wants, because there's no higher authority for him. He's defeated his father. He's locked them all up. He's locked away all the monsters. He's locked away his the titans. He's locked all these things away. He's got control. And he's got that curse hanging over his head, because it's always that little echo in the back of his ear. So he doesn't want even his sons to have but so much power and authority, because in the back of his ear, he's like, I know I need them to maintain order, but I know one of these guys at some point, one of my children is going to stab me in the back and take over. So he can't really 100% trust all of his kids. And he's turned his wife against him. So he really has no friends. They're all subjects to take it from Stannis. They're all either subjects or enemies. So
I feel like that's why he made so many kids.
That he would need to really watch his back against is mostly Ares, more so than his other children, because he actually
making all these babies on Earth too. A lot of these kids have some anger issues about, hey, my dad left me. My dad doesn't. Who is my dad? Oh, he's Zeus. Well, F him.
Yeah, he just has this entitlement that they owe him, right? And they don't owe him crap. They didn't decide.
They don't owe him crap, because what has he done for them?
Exactly. What have you done for me lately? And the answer is nothing.
Absolutely not. And so now we get the backstory of Seraphim, right? So we go back to the moment where Zeus whisks off and fades, zaps away with Heron on the mother, and then the other baby that's left behind is with the I guess the lady in waiting.
Mm-hmm.
So the uncle comes in and he sees the slaughter and he looks and he goes, who did this? And then she goes, the gods. And so he smacks her and takes the baby and says, don't tell anybody. When I saw that, I'm like, suspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the next time we see him, he's holding the baby and the baby is like gurgling and he holds the baby up by the mountains, right? And
it's like a Simba moment, but
right?
terrible.
and I'm like,
except it's Scar and not Mufasa.
Exactly. I was like, he's about to throw that baby over the cliff.
cliff.
And so the lady in waiting is like watching him, right? And so we see him, he's holding the baby's like gargling and being all cute and stuff. And then his cape like flutters, and then when his cape comes back down, there's no baby. And
where did he go?
And then the lady in waiting goes and she finds the baby, and she picks up the baby thinking that the baby is dead, but miraculously the baby survives. And so what she does is she goes to her sister gives her a horse and some provision, and she runs away with the baby. And so as she runs away with the baby, we find that it's raining. Of course, they're tired and hungry. The baby is hungry and is crying. And so she finds a cave.
No milk.
No milk. And she crawls into this cave with little baby. Baby is crying. It can't be soothed. And then all of a sudden, a bear appears. And the bear is like, ah! And then all of a sudden, the bear is like, right? And then you see two little baby bears come and start suckling, and the bear's looking at her and looking at the extra titty.
Yeah, I got extra.
Yep. Then they all become one big happy family.
Right.
Bruh, I mean, I feel bad for the kid.
Little.
It's almost like a Tarzan and Jane and the Jungle Book story. That's basically what it's.
I mean, you gotta feel bad for him getting thrown off the cliff. Although honestly, now that I think about it, looking at the person that his dad was, it makes perfect sense that his uncle would be like that. But with the whole bear situation, I got a whole ass mama bear and 2 bear brothers. I think I'm cool in the jungle.
It's the bare necessity.
I don't need to go live and be half starving with moms and a little brother. I know that sounds bad, but I mean, you think about it. He had the better coming up.
He did. They weren't starving, and they didn't have a need
at all. Didn't have to worry about nobody coming up on them because Mama Bear would have shanked that ass. Except for that last time where she couldn't get there in time. It was sad.
But she tried.
Yeah.
She did.
I learned from the show bears are better than people.
Yep.
So
Mama Bear is the best. Is the best mom.
Goes, and so also in that particular season, we get the aftermath of the mother passing away, and then we see Zeus over her body, and in the tradition of most Greek tradition, he put 2 coins on her eyes, and that's to pay for her passage to the underworld. And then here comes Hermes. Now we get an interesting history about Hermes, and I'm gonna let Nessie kind of talk about one of the things that Hermes, as one of the gods, one of his responsibilities are.
Right. Well, Hermes is kind of one of those catch-all gods. He's got like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of the other thing, make it all together, poof. So he's like the god of thieves. He's the god of merchants. He's the god of trade and travel. But he's also one of his main gigs is he escorts the souls of the virtuous to the afterlife, which for humans that's going to be they all have to go down to the realm of Hades, the underworld, because everybody goes there. That's the realm of the dead. And you'll see this imagery in the episode, like they get to the river, they get to the underworld, everything's kind of gray and gloomy, and she's scared. Of course, who wouldn't be? I know I'd be like crapping my pants. But she's got somebody with her, which that's that comfort to her. That's and he asks, he gives her one last boon, one last thing before she crosses the river, before she goes on. She's like, is there anybody in the world that you would like to see right now before you go? Because once they're gone, once they cross the river, that's it. And she reaches out to her son, which is like kind of very heartwarming. He's kind of like lets him know, hey, yes, I'm gone. I'm moving on. I'm okay. I'm going to a better place. Like all my suffering, all my everything that I went through is over. I'm going on to my reward now. And, he's probably worried because it's like he didn't bury his mom. He wasn't able to take care of her body, and knowing that if they're not properly taken care of, they would go to
that was a big deal for them.
Wait, he had to be like, not only is my mom gone, but her shade is going to be wandering eternity forever without a proper burial. So, he gets that, that closure with his mom, knowing that she's going to be okay, that her soul is going to go off to paradise. And in the land of the dead, there's, the boatman, the boat
fields.
Yeah, they'll take you to either Tartarus or, one of the other realms. There's just like a land of darkness, or you could go to, as AK said, the Elysian Fields. And this is where all of the heroic humans, the people who have lived virtuous lives, like this is like their version of paradise for humans. Mm-hmm. And she kind of sees it off in the distance and knows kind of like that's her fate. And so Hermes he has her coins, so he pays the ferryman, and by him actually, escorting her, like she is a person of great, status. She's got great status after she's gone, because everybody doesn't get like a personal escort down to hell. And he's like, hey, you take good care of her, or the big guy is going to trash you. So hey, take good care of my girl here.
Special.
Yeah, this was a little special. So yeah, she gets the royal treatment and everything. So even though she did not attain honors and praise and accolades in her life, she lived such a she had a cruel fate. Fate takes pity on her, I guess, and she's, after all she suffered, she does enter into paradise after she dies. Great, okay, great. I've got you.
Well, that's the least that Zeus could have done for. That's the least that Zeus could have done for her, to make sure. The least that he could have done.
And once again, he's gonna expect like absorbent amounts of praise for any little thing he does.
Huzzah. Yeah. Remember, take good care of her. The big guy's gonna blast you with his thunderbolt. So, yeah.
So we go back to the story of Seraphim, and so Hera meets with Seraphim and kind of makes him an offer. And the offer that she makes, that she will help him to get the revenge that he wants, and that he will rule the world, and all she has to do is do him a solid. Now, mind you, she has already put in her mind that she's going to get revenge on Zeus, and she's going to use Seraphim as a vehicle to enact that revenge. And so Seraphim, now she tells Seraphim that he needs to go and get the weapon that Zeus had originally crafted for Heron, right? That Heron threw away, and it landed inside of the rock.
Man, you always keep the sword.
He's such an idiot. Be mad at your dad all you want, but do not throw away the special weaponry. Perseus had an issue with that in Clash of the Titans too. Do not give up your god-level weapons.
Dang sword.
What's wrong with you?
I didn't get that. I really did not get that. Like, I wasn't throwing away a sword, dude. I wasn't gonna do that.
Not at all. Now, especially one that looked
Okay,
like that
okay.
and can cut
You
through
gotta
anything.
realize these little boys are not quite as practical as, maybe some wiser women in the room might be. He's having a fit. He's having a
He was so
tantrum. I
emo.
don't want your stinking toy.
Yes.
I don't want it. I want you to come to my baseball games. I want you to care about me, my grades in school. You never asked me about how I'm doing in school, Dad. Throw the $100.
I will say though, like I
Quick
know Aaron grew
sidebar,
up
right?
poor.
Quick sidebar. I was watching this video, and there was a guy, a married man, right, sent a text to what he thinks is his mistress, and the text reads, "My annoying wife and daughter are out shopping. Why don't you come over, baby?" And then the daughter responds, "Wrong number. Give me a Mustang, or I'm telling mom."
Oh,
That's how a girl thinks.
Milk that for all it is worth.
You gonna come out your pocket. You gonna come out your pocket, right?
And I will say that Heron did grow up poor, but it kind of shows his privilege a little bit that he's like, oh, awesome magical sword, psh, whatever. He's
still a boy.
I'm gonna do this on my own. I don't need your help.
I'll do it myself.
Dude,
he's still a boy.
I'm gonna need you to just
step that game up just a little bit, my guy.
Come on.
I mean, and can we just pay a little homage to all of the, toxic masculinity here?
Oh
Dad
my
didn't
God!
talk. What did Dad do? Here, take this magic sword and take all your anger issues and use it. Thanks.
I don't ever want to see you again. Screw this sword.
And I haven't seen the last part of the series, so maybe Heron does become more heroic, but he hasn't really, except for that first battle in the first episode where he was mostly just protecting himself. He's not really doing heroic things. So I hope they're building up to him being a hero.
This is part of his character development, right?
Yeah.
This is part of his character development.
Yeah,
he has to go to hero school.
We're going through the standard hero's journey, character development, right? He's now at a crossroads, right? He's had a major loss, right? And now he's at a crossroad as to now where he has to now find the inner hero within himself. But he still has some things that he still has to get over, right? And he's not there yet. So at this point, he is a prisoner at this point, right? And so while he is a prisoner, Seraphim is learning the truth of who he is, right? And so when he gets this mission from Hera, right? Hera tells him the truth of who he is and how he came to be. We find that the reason why Seraphim looks the way that he looks is because he eventually gains revenge on the people that killed his surrogate mother, right? And when I tell you he got revenge on the person,
they deserved it. I wasn't mad at him for doing that. They deserved it.
Yo,
quick, fast.
These two boys had natural gifts of like he came in like minced meat. That's how bad he beat this dude. Like that dude was minced meat. And so of course he gets caught after killing him, and so he is on the run, and these people are chasing him, and he stumbles into the cavern that contains one of the giant's carcasses, right? And then when he touches it,
that would come
giant, something flows in him, right? And so then he hears the giant speak to him telepathically and tells him to eat of his flesh. And so
he
if
gets to munch
eat my flesh, you will have power. And so that's what he does. He eats, gross, the flesh of the giant. And then
can we also talk about how that giant is kind of like Cthulhu? He's supposed to be dead, but he's still whispering into people's minds and whatnot.
Right?
And he's right there by the waterway.
Under the ocean, the dead lie. Yeah.
That was very Lovecraftian.
Yeah, and not decomposing, right? Somehow
not at all. Somehow I can see he's still taking a bite of you and your flesh.
He looked like he was moisturizing and everything. It's like
Right. So so
So he
now
gets
of
the
course
anti-Zeus juice.
he's getting roughed up, right? But while he's getting roughed up, he's getting the boom boom transformation, right? So
Gotta
he's
level
going
up.
through his metamorphosis, right? There's so many different things that we can go into with respect to this metamorphosis that he is undertaking, right? So now he's undergoing this metamorphosis. And as he undergoes this metamorphosis, he finds that he has the ability to wield the trident weapon, and he's able to make quick work of those soldiers except for three. And then the three that he doesn't conquer is pretty much lay down their arms and agree to be to follow him and be his leaders. And so they undergo the same transformation. And so with Seraphim, we find that he has a thing about weakness, right? He does not tolerate weakness. And if you are the weakest link, guess what happens? You're out. Like you're done. Like you are no longer allowed to be present in the earth, because he's like kind of like apocalypse, like, yeah, survival of the fittest. You don't deserve to live because you are a weak link. So this becomes the story of Seraphim. So he gets the sword, right? He gets the sword, and while he's out here on side quests getting the sword, we have Heron, who's now leading a revolt on the ship. So he's on a slave ship. They're getting ready to go. I don't remember where they're getting ready to go to this place called Meladoni. And Meladoni is where the giants' bodies or remains are being held, right? I think, is that it?
Is that in episode 5?
Is it?
I think that's episode 5
I
because I,
think,
only watched 1 through 4.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
4 ended.
We're pretty much at the end.
Yeah.
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 I think 4 ends up at the reveal of
Yeah, I think 4 pretty much ends with us learning about Seraphim's origins.
Yeah,
And
pretty
I-
much.
We learn
I think
about
it's
Seraphim,
telling.
and then after he beats old boy to the pulp, and he now becomes a demon god, and now is the leader of the demon gang. They never say how he got that griffin though. Like nobody like.
Where did he get
Like,
that griffin?
where did he get the griffin? Like, because every anti-hero and every evil guy rides a griffin. Like that made no sense to me. But okay.
I think it's kind of
it.
telling when we see the actual origin story of Seraphim, how all that goes down, because we've heard a version of this story before, and that's when Zeus old man daddy is telling Heron, about the origins, like the demons, where the demons came from. They're these demons, they're bad. They just found this body of a terrible giant washed up on shore. You get that portion, you get Zeus' side of the story, but he very conveniently leaves out, hey, and oh, by the way, the head demon who started all this, yeah, that's your brother. That's your brother. Your older brother, by the way. Yeah.
And doesn't Heron learn that his brother had just been killed? And I think that that's very convenient to be like, oh, he was killed, because technically he was killed, and then this demon thing is like a different Seraphim. It's just like,
yeah, that's some Darth Vader, Obi-Wan, and a certain point of view kind of stuff. From a certain point of view, he's dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's like in A Song of Ice and Fire when they're like, the Hound is dead. This Gravedigger dude over here,
It's kind of like it's kind of like for all. It's like are you hiding that because you think you're protecting him in some way, or do you think that him learning the truth might somehow, like, this dude was living a lie for a very long time. Like, he was living in the shadow of a lie that both his mother and his quote unquote father kept him from. But of course, he took the anger out more so on his dad than he did his mom, which I appreciate. I'm glad that you
Rightly
didn't
so.
take it
Yeah.
out on mom,
He
Yeah,
really didn't
he
have much
deserved all
power.
that.
Yeah.
right? So,
Good job,
which is
Netflix.
deserved, right? And and then when Seraphim learns that he is the one that actually kills his mother, like
Yeah.
the the look on his face, like, and then Hera quickly kind of like tries to um turn the blame onto Zeus to give him
Oh,
something to
Zeus. Yeah.
focus his anger on, right? So not only do you
Right.
have one son that's angry at Zeus, his biological son is angry at Zeus and blames Zeus. Now you have the other son who
Yes.
now
Step.
has a reason to blame Zeus. Because if Zeus hadn't interfered and hadn't done all of that, he wouldn't be where he is. You understand? So this cat and mouse thing that happens again, but Zeus is essentially the common denominator in the destruction that is happening to a lot of these people's lives. And it's like the more that he tries to quote unquote try to clean things up, the worse of a mess that he makes.
Pretty
So
Yep.
much.
so what are
That
100%.
your
sums that
thoughts? So what is
up.
everybody's like ending thoughts on the show so far? Like what would you rate it?
Oh, at least a 9.5, like overall. I mean, there needs to be a season two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was one of the most
I would very much.
enjoyable animes I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah,
Like,
I would give it a 9. It's been a long time since I've watched anime, and this is something that me and Steven Stark over at Here Be Dragons agree about. We believe that anime is a style, so as long as it's the style of animation,
Yes.
it doesn't have to be from Japan. And don't at me,
Correct.
anime purists, okay?
that's
Yes.
facts. That's facts.
So I really appreciate that they take this style and kind of I think it's a real kind of refreshing look at a very, very old tales. And I do think that the way that they're doing it, where they are kind of showing that it really is Zeus who is like Manara was saying, the common denominator in all of this. And I really do appreciate, characters such as Alexis. And so I think it's really got a lot going on, and it has that classic hero's journey, but it doesn't feel tired, right? It doesn't feel like
Right.
they're like beating a dead horse. Like,
Right.
I feel like this is a more of a fresher take. And it's also they also picked one of Zeus's sons that at least I don't know anything about. Like if it was talking about Hercules or something, that would feel like something that's overdone. But they've kind of picked a lesser known of his children. And so I also kind of look forward to that. And I think with the pandemic, this is animated, and so everyone can kind of work from home and send in their audio and
Right.
stuff. So like they can totally do a season 2, like this coming year, and it's much easier to do than with live action. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate it, and I appreciate because it's animated, you can do these huge epic battles with the Titans, with the giants, And I don't know if any of you guys have seen the show Titans that's on HBO, but there's a joke like, why would they call themselves Titans? They're the ones that lost. So I just kind of always think about that line. But they can do these
I don't
kinds
know.
of
I
epic
mean, like
battle
the
god
Titanic
pantheon.
sank, so
Yeah, I like that. I like that they just kind of go all out on it because it is animated and they can do that. That's usually my dissatisfaction with live action, is that they downplay the kind of grandiose and meta kind of aspects of it, as far as doing these huge epic god battles.
What do you think,
Yeah, right
Nessie? About you?
Oh, I enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not as big an anime fan as some people on the panel, but I've seen my fair share, and I really got engaged with this very quickly. I like the short episodes to leave you wanting just a little bit more. I'm like, oh wait, I need to watch one more. I need to watch this next one. So it does lead you forward. It doesn't like bore you with a lot of. I mean, yes, we get some exposition, but the way that they do the exposition is very neat and tidy. So you're not like overrun with it, like getting this, that, and the other, and this god begat that god in the heavens and what have you. Just skip that part, fast forward. We'll give you a little, a little quick on the DL. But yeah, and then you just immediately, when in episode 1, you're just right in the middle of the story. You don't know what's going on. You just know that there's this chick, she looks like she's like this warrior person. She's chasing these demons, and you're like, yeah, well, they may be the bad guy, but I'm going to go with it. So right in the middle, you're thrown right in the middle of the action, which I really liked. It caught me very quickly. And those 4 episodes that we watched for this stream really flew right by. I mean, if it hadn't been
Yeah.
so late last night, probably would have binged the whole series and just right on through. So um, it was very enjoyable. I loved all of the homages they gave to like classical tales, even though they are putting their own spin and their own twist on it, which is perfectly fine. I mean, myths are there. They're not. I mean, really, are they carved in stone? I don't think so. I think it's just like there's suggestions. These are things that we tell ourselves, and it's all from a certain point of view. So pick a point of view and tell your story. And I really like that they picked a base. He's a human. He's got anger issues. He's like not living the greatest life. He's not being brought up with a silver spoon in his mouth, and that's good. And he rightly has a chip on his shoulder because hey, I've my mom worked so hard. I don't know why we're so cursed. I'm working hard. I'm doing my thing. I'm trying to take care of my moms. But what's going on here? It was really a fast paced, fast moving, but yet you get a lot of backstory at the same time. So I'm gonna binge watch the next 4 episodes. Probably have to get off this stream. I got to see how this plays out. But
Oh,
yes,
it's
I do love the kiss to the
You're
kiss to
gonna
the
love it.
past, the homage that they did to the past. But still, I mean, I even have sympathy for Hera. She's
yeah,
kind of cast in this particular light, but I'm like, I can put myself in old girl shoes and have all these things happen to me. Yeah, I mean, I can be a petty bitch sometimes. It happens.
I mean, she
I
had
don't
a
have like
point.
limited God. Yeah, she was, you know, there was you kind of they're playing it where she's a little bit sympathetic and not just a total evil ice queen that we hear
Hmm.
from the myths. So I like that they're kind of giving it you both sides of it. You show how flawed Zeus is. You see how the other gods are reacting to his flaws and pettiness, like the scene where all the gods are confronting him, like going right to
Hmm.
his face, like, dude, you can't be doing this. You've got Hera, you've got Ares, you've got Apollo, you've got Poseidon, his brother there, and they have their little altercation or tiff. Hey, I am just as powerful as you are. You are only in charge because we all collectively agree that you can be, as long as you
Right,
obey the rules. If you do not obey the rules, which are above us all, then we could throw you
right,
down just as quick. So I
exactly.
really love that. Yeah. So 10 stars, I'm going to go ahead and give it because I love my mythology and I don't get to see some really fresh, interesting takes very often. So
Yeah,
I'm all in on this.
Yeah.
yeah. I truly enjoyed the show, and I really love their take on Greek mythology and how they give you a different perspective of the gods and the gods' relationship. Because most of the time, when you see a lot of these shows, they really don't they really don't delve into the dynamics so much of what's happening with the gods
Hmm.
among themselves. They mostly dive
Mhm.
into the relation of the gods as they relate to whichever one of Zeus's demigods that he's created. And so
Mhm.
that's where you see most of the dynamic. And it was good to see a dynamic just among the gods themselves
Yeah.
and how their group dynamic works. And so I really like this different take and a fresh spin on with respect to the Olympians as we know it. So the part two we're gonna do is gonna be from episode 5 to episode 8. If you ladies are open to coming back next Wednesday at the same time, or we can
Of course.
decide what will work for your schedule, we'll come back and do part 2. Um, Amy, just let us know again where they can find you and if you have anything coming up that we need to look out for.
Yeah, so once again, my name's right here. You could just do youtube.com/Aemy Blackfyre. Yeah, I do have a lot coming up. I'm gonna be as quick as possible. I have a collab essay with Lo the Links about Lysona Mar. Got an essay that about Circe, comparing her to the last empress of China. I'm gonna have Rohan on to talk about that. And I'm also going to have John Webster over from John Webster Film on to talk about gender stereotypes and how they affect what media we like, right? Your girls, oh, that's a chick flick. Guys shouldn't like that. This kind of stuff. We're going to have a good time. So that's all for December. And if you want to check out John Webster Film, we are going to talk about The Two Towers and this Saturday at 5 p.m. Eastern over there. And then we're going to, of course, do Return of the King after that. So calling all Lord of the Rings fans, we're going to talk about that. We're going to have a fabulous panel. I also have this awesome series going on with this girl over here, Nessie, called Bleep the Patriarchy, over on her channel at the Unspun Yarn. And December 30th, we're going to be talking about transphobia and turfism with Load the Links and Ian Thomas Malone, correct, Nessie? Yes.
Yes.
So we have a lot of that.
ITM's going to be on. Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I have a lot more coming up for 2020. I'm going to continue my Song of Ice and Fire and his Dark Materials stuff, as well as some Avatar The Last Airbender, The Witcher, and like I said, please read The Poppy War so you can enjoy my videos about it, because it's an amazing series.
Thanks, Amy. And everybody's channel is linked down below in the description box. So just make sure you go down to the link below and make sure you click the links and subscribe. It's free. It doesn't cost anything.
And it makes us happy.
These ladies have really great content, and you want to make sure that you get into their life because they are very engaging. So I highly encourage you to do that. Nessie, can you let the people know what you've got going on?
Okay. Yeah, December's going to be a busy month. I usually do something like every 2 weeks because I do like have a busy, I have a busy life outside of my YouTube life. But on the 16th, which I will be back here, I may have to cut out early on that one because right after you would finish like 5 o'clock next Wednesday on the 16th, I've got a good friend of my channel and a lot of our channels, Dan, the Voice of Geekdom. He's going to be coming on my channel, and I've been doing some Arthurian content, and I just could not resist having an in-depth scholarly discussion about Monty Python's The Holy Grail. So Dan's going to be coming on for that. So if you have any love for the Monty Python movie, please drop by. Give us a like, give us a hey, how you doing? It's a silly thing. It's just a silly thing, but we're gonna have a lot of fun. And actually, that movie has a lot to say about the politics and power structure that was going on at not only at the time it was made, but actually in like the roots of the British monarchy. So it does have a lot to say. And 2 weeks after that, as my good friend and co-host Amy has said, we're going to have our second episode of Bleep the Patriarchy. Manara was very kind to come on our inaugural episode. Girl, that was a 3-hour marathon we did. And it probably have gone for another hour because there was just so much to say. And we're going to get it all out eventually, maybe, probably not. But we're going to get some word out. It's a semi-monthly thing where Amy and I bring in some wonderful guests, and we talk about all types of feminist issues, trans issues, women's issues, toxic masculinity, misogyny. We bring in politics, we bring in real world things and literature. It's just a great mix. I'm very, very pleased with the inaugural episode. We're going to have some great guests on in the future. If you yourself want to be a guest, you have an issue that is, a woman's issue, a personal issue. If it's a hot button topic, contact either myself or Aemy Blackfyre. We're good on Twitter. You can leave us a message in the comments of any of our videos. We'll get back with you. You can email me at we3dragons@gmail.com. Get your message across. We'd love to have you on. That's the 30th of December, and then the 14th of January, we're going all the way out into January. John Webster Film's going to come on. We're going to continue our Arthurian content. He's finally committed. John has commitment issues. I'm just going to let you ladies know. He has commitment issues. Finally committed on the 14th. He's going to come on and talk about Merlin. Like, that's going to be lit. We've got we're going to talk about the archetype and how Merlin is the archetype for the magician. And also, other good friend of the chat, Erin, who's in this chat. Erin M. she's going to come on my channel again. She's been my wingman for a lot of this Arthurian content, and we are going to discuss Morgan Le Fay. That's going to be on the 27th. Busy, busy,
Nice.
busy. Let alone what's going on Here Be Dragons, but we'll get to that. Mando, fans, it's all there. If you've got a little nerdy vibe, we got you covered. These ladies, myself, Stephen, John, we got you covered.
Yes, and their channel is also linked below in the description box, so make sure you check them out and click on the link and subscribe if you haven't already. AK.
Most of my plugs are pretty much Narrow's plugs because we tag team on the things we do. So I would say keep an eye on her channel more because that's where we're going to be. We got Blood of Zeus coming up next week. We're going to get back into The Expanse once we figure out dates for that.
Mm-hmm.
Watchmen is also going to be a thing. We'll be coming up. We're going to try to have another guest on with us too. Man, you guys saw her on my Lovecraft stream. Go check her out. She's hilarious.
I love her. I really loved her on that stream.
She is just such a good soul. I love people with that type of energy.
And she had all of the little, I forget what you call those, the little
Funko Pops.
Funko Pops. She's the only person I know that has more Funko Pops than Phantom D. Saint.
Right?
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to try to get some stuff together for my channel as well, but I'm not going to say what just in case I don't get around to it. I am still in recovery, so I can't move around as much as I want to do the things that I want to do. I get yelled at by old biddies in the house if I move too much. So, anyway, I will see you guys basically when I see you. As I always say, you'll find me on my friends' channels a lot quicker than you'll find me on my own. So sub to all three of these ladies because that's where I'll be at. And I'll actually be on with Here Be Dragons coming up within a couple days. Actually,
this Sunday.
Make sure.
Yeah,
yes.
nice.
Yes.
Hey, it's this Sunday.
It's gonna be fun.
Well, all I got is what do I have? We're gonna do part 2 of this series, and then after that, I'm gonna be doing another one of these on another anime that I really like, which is called Dogma, which is also on Netflix. And if you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend it. And it's a different spin on the 7 major sins, right? It takes a different spin on that. So it's not, I don't want to say it's religious. It's not a religious anime, but it uses the 7 deadly sins as a way of going through this particular hero's story. And it doesn't go the way that you think it's gonna go, and it's a twist on what the hero story actually is. And so I found it extremely fascinating, and if you get a chance to watch it again, it's called Dogma on Netflix. And then after that, I will be doing a Let's Talk, and the subject that I want to talk about is socialism and a difference between socialism and capitalism, and the messaging that needs to be taking place in society as a whole, and how we as everyday citizens, what role do we need to play? Because I want to try to make more of an effort to be more of more of an active participant in society and in what's going on, not only what's happening locally where I live, but what's happening in the nation as a whole. And I think, love it or hate it, though, some of the positives that have come with respect to this year is a lot of us are more socially aware. A lot of us have become more educated, and a lot of us have become more proactive and not as complacent as we have been for so many decades. And so one of the topics that I really want to talk about is socialism and capitalism, and how and what the messaging is with respect to our society, and why there's this big, huge divide and this huge fear against these two topics, that is at one of the main cores of our society today. So I'll probably be doing that maybe probably like next Monday or next Tuesday. I'll probably have that. It'll be late in the evening though, like maybe around 7 in the evening. I'll probably set up a stream to do that. And that's all I've got. I want to thank all of these lovely ladies for joining me to have this great discussion. I want to thank everybody who was in the chat that came and participated and joined the chat, and listened to us ramble and gush over this on Greek mythology. I will have to say I can't see what's happening in the chat because I can't see very well out of my right eye. I'm wearing the glasses to kind of take the strain off of my left eye. So I can't really see very well. So it's like all a blur. So I couldn't read the comments. So I apologize for that. So I just want to thank each and every person, whoever they may have been that have been in the chat. I appreciate you being here. And we'll see you guys next week or whenever the next thing that's happening in the channel. Make sure you subscribe to everybody and turn those notifications on so that you can find out what we're going to be doing next. And so that way you can be in the know. With that,